Fed up of excited pugs and other furry beasts getting their paws caught on training controller leads and pulling your console off the shelf? Well, here is something that could well be the solution.
So if there's one thing that I really don't miss from the retro console days, it is wired controllers. I've been spoiled. I've gotten so used to playing with the wireless pads ever since the GameCube's excellent Wavebird all the way up to the Xbox One's super comfortable controller that just going back to trailing leads is just a gigantic pain in the arse, especially when you have pets that just love to run around.
8bitdo are a company that are doing great things for old consoles, and their retro receiver is one of their many accessories for classic systems. Basically, it's a Bluetooth controller receiver for your Super Nintendo or Super Famicom system, but it's also available for the Nintendo Entertainment System as well as the NES and SNES Classic Mini systems. Now, 8bitdo claims it works with a multitude of wireless controllers, starting with their own extensive range of wireless pads. But if you don't have those, a whole load of controllers for other consoles are supported. If you've got a DualShock 3, DualShock 4, Wii Remote, Wii U Pro Controller, Switch Pro Controller or even a Switch Joy-Con, then you've got a pad that will work with the retro receiver and can be used on your Super Nintendo. And it is the simplest thing to configure too. In the easy to open packaging, you'll get your retro receiver, a tiny USB cable and a keyring for some unknown reason. The first thing you'll want to do is to go to 8bitdo's support site, download the manual and also the latest firmware updater for your retro receiver for your Mac or PC. Yes, they have Mac software, hooray! Load up the firmware updater on your computer, then hold the pairing button on your retro receiver before plugging it into your computer via the included USB cable. Click the update button, browse the latest firmware update that you downloaded, then after a few seconds you'll be up to date and your retro receiver is ready to use. Once you've plugged in your retro receiver into your Super Nintendo or Super Famicom console, the toughest part of the whole process is deciding what controller to use. If you're using a Wii Remote, Wii U Pro Controller, Switch Joy-Con or Switch Pro Controller, press the pairing button on your retro receiver while it's plugged in and your console is switched on. Then, while the blue light is flashing on the retro receiver, press the pairing button on your controller and after a few seconds, everything should pair and you'll be ready to go. For DualShock 4 users, you'll need to press and hold the share and PS buttons on your pad to pair it to the receiver. From that point, you can just press the PS button to turn the pad on and play. If you're using a DualShock 3 controller, you'll need to download the receiver tool from 8bitdo's website for your PC or Mac. Load it up and again you'll need to hold the pairing button on your retro receiver while plugging it in via USB. Then you'll need to connect your DualShock 3 controller to your computer via USB cable. Click the pair button in the receiver tool and your receiver and controller are now paired and ready to use. It takes from a few seconds to a couple of minutes to get everything set up and it just works after that. I've been using my Wii U Pro controller over the last week and all I've needed to do is turn my Super Nintendo on, press any button on the Wii U Pro controller and it all just repairs again in a matter of seconds. It's just easy. But what about input lag? Well, I've not noticed any. I've been playing a lot of Yoshi's Island recently on a CRT television and I can't say I've experienced any sort of delay between a press of the button and what happens on screen. As I said before, it just works.
For less than £20 English, the retro receiver is a handy little adapter that just allows you to free yourself from the shackles of wired cables. It's simple to use, takes very little time and effort to set up, and I can't really find any real fault with it, other than the fact that it doesn't come with instructions in the box. But it's not like the instructions aren't difficult to find on 8bitdo's own website, which you'll probably want to do anyway just to update the firmware. Ultimately, I love this little device, and it comes highly recommended from me. Now I'm definitely thinking of picking up a receiver for my Nintendo Entertainment System, and maybe one of 8bitdo's pads as well. I just wish that there was one for every single classic system out there. Who knows, maybe that might happen in future. Thank you very much for joining me this week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll see you next week for a review of the Super Nintendo's Yoshi's Island. Take care and goodbye.